wonder if the audience has any stories of their own to tell about their teenage sexual experiences.
Now, I don't want you to be embarrassed. That will give you a few moments to think. Try to put yourself back to 13, 14. Is there someone who'd like to share an experience that you really had when you were a teenager? Perhaps a club that you started? Did anyone start a club? A friend of mine said she started a masturbation club. Did anybody do that? How about fantasies about teachers? Are you raising your hand? Well, I know some people didn't have any fantasies, so don't feel bad. You're not alone if you didn't, but I think you're being shy. Well, how about your concept of what sex was then? Did any of you remember what you thought sex was? Was that hot feeling you got when you brushed up against this person that you were mad about? Was dancing so close that you could feel their heart beating? And if you were a girl, feeling their penis getting a little hard and big? Really hard and big, actually, is what used to happen then. Oh, this is one. Okay, I'll confess. If you won't confess, I'll confess. How about rubbing together with all your clothes on and coming? You didn't know that it was that really, but it just felt incredible. And you didn't need to do it anymore. Or imagining being married. Can any of you imagine what marriage would be like finally? I think it was probably very different than if you got married since then. It was for me, I confess. Almost fainting when he looked into your eyes. Did that ever happen to you? Come on, don't be afraid. I mean, I'm the one that should be uptight, you know? There are critics here. There's photographers. It's my reputation, so don't be embarrassed. No one will know who you are. In fact, I hope I will be very upset if you haven't filled out this questionnaire, and you don't have to put your name on it. But, I want to know what happened to you. I want to know if you got caught. I want to know if you made any far-out art. I mean, you should see on the other side of that dresser. That really happened. It's not a game. Did you ever play doctor? Going up in the hayloft? Well, if you were in the country. I don't know what you do in the city. You go in a stairwell if you were in the city. And then you'd sort of faint, and your boyfriend would carry you. And then you'd listen to your heart, his head against your chest. Did you ever get caught? I once caught my brother and his friends. It wasn't really sex, but he and his buddies they took off all their clothes and they were running through the woods like cavemen. And I can't believe that I did it, but instead of watching, I ran home and told. It was so stupid of me. And my mother laughed, and then I was really embarrassed. So, that's all.
Private thoughts, private places, in your body and in your mind. Childhood secrets that you reveal when you find Remember when you began to remember, to think again of something no one had ever told you, and out of life you grew bold, you let it all unfold, and now, looking back, you remember all those private places, not public ones, like an essence of future race, a secret space which leaves no trace of the place it started from. And now my hands are tied, the rope supplied. Your spirit graces my private places. Dreams and tatters, nothing matters. The memory flatters those private places. A room one's own, a place to go and hide, a place to make a fantasy full blown. Where fantasy becomes reality. A far-fetched dream of pleasure, a lover's treasure, a private place. No dictionary definition for private places, child of traces, just an innocent premonition, where reality was fantasy. Private thoughts, private places. Private thoughts, private places. In your body and in your mind. Childhood secrets that you reveal when you find. A dream of future happenings. Imagining what tomorrow brings. Private places with no reason to regret. No blaming. No treason. In your body, in your mind. Childhood secrets that you feel when you smell trees. Special as you drive. Where fantasy becomes reality. A far-fetched dream of pleasure. A lover's treasure. It's a private place among the places we embrace. Another thing that I used to do for kicks was to look up words in the dictionary when I was a teenager.
You know, words like penis, intercourse, vagina, sex. Let's see, what else? Well, why don't we read one? Let's see. Sex. Either of two divisions of organisms, distinguished respectively as male or female. So far, not very hot. Okay, 2. The sum of the structural, functional, and behavioral characteristics of living beings that subserve reproduction. Okay, we're getting close. By 2 interacting parents, and that distinguish males and females. I mean, it was a turn on, even when you weren't really quite getting something that you wanted. It was genitalia or intercourse?
I had met Claudia the summer before when I had gone to Guatemala to meet Sandra. The exact town is somewhere written in a journal from that summer. This trip was in February on the spring break. I was teaching art at the college and took advantage of every long period between classes to get out of town, and had just enough money for a one-way ticket back and some extra for food, cheap hotels, and bus tickets between towns. One day, while I was at her apartment alone, except for all the cats, Ashley came to visit her. A French filmmaker whose visit she was expecting, I think, but was late for. He was skinny with glasses, but spoke some English and wasn't uninteresting. He lived with his girlfriend in a small cottage outside Mexico City, about an hour. We took the bus together, and I remember Scarlett not seeming pleased when we arrived. The cottage was primitive, but wonderful. I stayed a couple of days, perhaps a week with them. But one night is particularly clear to me. We had a small tape deck and began dancing together to the somewhat outdated music we had. Scarlett became tired and bored, I suppose. The excitement was all between Ashley and I. Later that night, he crawled into the sleeping bag with me as Scarlett slept in the next room, separated from us by a thin white curtain through which I could see the outline of her hammock all night between snatches of dreaming of her attacking me. The next morning, when she walked by to make the tea for breakfast, we were still asleep, our arms around each other. At breakfast, not a word was said about it, and we talked amiably of other things. I even took photos of the three of us sitting outside around the table, the cottage in the background. Later that day, we toured the town ruins, had dinner on me, chicken mulli, at a local restaurant, and after visited a village religious festival where Ashley and I took photos of the fireworks and religious procession. I stayed a few days more, I think, and joined them at the opening of the first all-female exhibit of art in Mexico City. From a feminist point of view, I now see the situation somewhat differently. Perhaps it was a scene they were used to. Perhaps I exaggerate to excuse my behavior.
I don't know. I used to practice kissing before. It was funny. I had this one teddy bear. Poor teddy. I abused and totalized him. Definitely. It was really funny because until Sai, he taught me like how to mouth kiss, etc. I didn't know how the right way, so I was just like, killing the person, So I used to try to practice on the teddy bear. It made me work. Poor teddy, oh God, I feel so bad.
Footsteps on ceilings, repetitions of childhood feelings, sudden revealing